next question is, what made me want to be a criminal defense lawyer in the first place, right? So what made me want to be a criminal defense lawyer in the first place was that I came out of undergrad in 2008. And it was the height of the recession. It was a recession then. And so there was absolutely not a lot of jobs. I remember actually coming out and working for, like, I think the TCAP testing place. I did that for like a month. Grading tests was the boringest job ever. It was so horrible. And I was in the in-between trying to figure out what I was going to do. Am I coming back to Nashville? Because I went to Middle Tennessee State University, and so that's in Murfreesboro. That's where I was staying. And I decided, okay, I found this job, and it was for a criminal defense lawyer. And it was a black woman. And I then was like, oh, okay, cool. This is cool. I'm not going straight to law school. I was going to take this little gap year, trying to figure out if I really wanted to do that. And so when I did start working for this lawyer, she was a young lawyer coming out. She did criminal defense law. And, everything about criminal defense law, you're not going to hear a whole lot. A lot of people are only encouraged to go into it like from the state route. Like if you go be a public defender, go be a district attorney, and being from what I call the DAM community, and that's the disproportionately affected, marginalized minority community, I knew I didn't want to work for the state. I had already worked for the state before, back in the day, when did I work for the state? I knew I worked for the state. Was that prior to law school? That was while I was in law school. So I worked for the state, then I worked for the federal government while I was in law school. And I knew that with this career that I was going to get in basically law, I didn't want to come out and work for the state. I didn't want to go to school all these years and then come out and work for the state. I just knew that wasn't the trajectory I wanted. And because I also look at the state as something that ties my hands, like you gotta be careful. You need to make sure that you don't overstep, or you're not saying something that they don't like, or your job is at risk. They don't pay a lot of money. They want a lot of sweat equity out of you. And so that wasn't attractive to me. And so working for that lawyer really gave me an opportunity to see, what does private, defense look like? What does private practice look like? And I saw her kicking ass and taking names. And I love that, right? And she was charging her value. So she was good. She was always taking us out to lunch. She was always, moving and shaking. She was challenging systemic issues. She was that girl in the field. And I was like, I see it. Oh, you know what I mean? I don't have to work for the government to make a big impact in this realm. Actually, it's counterproductive if I want to make a huge impact, because my hands are more tied in what I can do, what I can say, right? How much I can make. And so I was able to see her just really create what her community needed, like working for them, fighting for them, what it looked like to fight, to truly fight. And so that is pretty much what made me say, you know what, I can do this, right? I can do this. I can do this area. I was helping manage her law practice. And so I was learning, as a legal assistant, learning what that meant, learning how to assist, and learning what a lawyer would need. And so I was just able to have a masterclass in private criminal defense. And I am so grateful for that, because that let me know I could come out and fight just as hard, be just as much of a disruptor, and get a lot done, make a lot of impact and a lot of income at the same time, and that's not a bad thing, because that then allowed me to be able to provide discounted services for those who couldn't afford a certain amount, right? And so, anywho, that's just that's the story on why I chose to become a criminal defense lawyer.